Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open on a planet with two suns and a lone swordsman wandering the desert named Kain. The last of an ancient order of holy warriors called the Homerax now roams from town to town selling his services as a mercenary. He searches for work in a village where a group of soldiers have taken over the well and cut down a woman carrying her crying baby. Kain won't stand for this and approaches the gang probably to kill them, but we'll never know because some old-timer intervenes. Unfortunately named Bludge, he gives us the rundown on the town and how a pair of rival kings have set up fortresses on either side of the well. Balkaz is your Jabba the Hutt type, complete with slave girl and a puppet sidekick, but his army look like homeless people. While Zeg's a bit more formidable and is in control of the well, probably because his men have armor and can stand in a straight line. Since Balkaz will probably just suffer a heart attack before the movie's over anyway, Kain plans to bring down Zeg first. He tells a guard at the gate to inform the Sultan of Slav what he's about to see here today, then calls out the hydrated punks at the well. Demonstrating a proficiency in chopping up people, the stranger who just ruined about 8 families makes a statement that's surely going to get him noticed. This gives the potato sack wearing peasants a chance to steal as much water as they can and do whatever these lovely ladies are doing before the well is retaken. Zeg's soldiers exit the fort and chase away all of the freeloaders, but the spread-legged Kain has already received a meeting with the double-wide king. On his way inside, Kain sees a slave named Naja get dragged into Zeg's castle by Captain Kief, and that's the final time she'll be wearing her top for the duration of the movie. She's brought before Zeg, whose entire motivation is to make this busty sorceress enchant a sword that he so vigorously polishes in her presence. Naja has the power to turn any sword that she wants into the sacred sword of Yura, but no desire to see it in the hands of this loser. Meanwhile, our protagonist makes his way past some dude laying balls out in the dining hall to meet somebody ironically named Balkaz. He intends to lead his forces against Zeg's army the next day and take back the well, so he pays the stranger to help them fight. When Kain departs, he overhears Bal stupidly conspiring with his pet lizard manchild thing to betray him afterwards for absolutely no reason. The next morning, when both armies meet out front of their castles looking like two rejected football teams ready to square off in the finals, Bal waits for Kain to kick things off, but the merc deserts the army, saying that he won't fight for anyone who plots against him. He keeps the money that he was paid, and the two sides approach each other only to do some weird back and forth thing where both are too afraid to fight. The cowardly kings make a truce on the spot to avoid any conflict, then scurry back into their castles while Kief just stands there like what the hell. Soon a traveling slave auction arrives, meaning that a nearby fallen village has had their people sold to Master Burgo. He sells to both sides of the well, but while he's distracted trying to purchase the sorceress from Zeg, the shifty Balkaz poisons his water. They frame Zeg with his coat of arms on the bottle so that when all of Burgo's men perish in the desert, he seeks revenge on the wrong lord. We don't see him again until the end of the movie, and Kain decides that this is just another opportunity to make some money. He breaks into Zeg's fort and sells him information about Bal's deception, which gets Zeg flustered enough to march right out the front door. While he's off trying to catch up to the slaver, Kain sneaks back inside and knocks out a soldier who wasn't ready to leave his dinner. The sneaky thief then fills a sack full of coins from Zeg's coffer, but more guards enter, so he must find a different way out. He comes across an imprisoned Naja who reveals her magical powers, but Kain just says cool story and is about ready to leave. Figuring that he should also rescue this woman, Kain cuts down all of the soldiers in their way and escorts her from the dungeon to safety. Apparently Naja can't climb when fully clothed, so she gets carried out a window, but when suddenly topless again, she can easily scale down the other side. Seeking even more riches, Kain leaves the half-naked girl all alone to go steal Bal's pet lizard monster and sell it to Zeg when he returns. Knowing that Bal loves this thing, Zeg pays gold for it, and once again I don't understand why these people don't just kill Kain. In the morning, a standoff takes place around the well where Zeg threatens to cut off the creepy lizard thing's head if Bal doesn't pack up his crap and leave. Big Boy has a bargaining chip of his own as the sorceress has been captured and gets traded back to her captor in exchange for Rango. She receives a good backhand for escaping the dungeon. Then Zeg orders Kief to locate Kain, but none of the soldiers are able to find him. He's hidden himself away with Bludge in an underground cave system and hears water on the other side of the wall. Realizing that the tunnel passes by the edge of the well, he breaks a hole into it and redirects the flow to make it appear like it's dried up. He then walks in on Zeg during a demonstration of Kief's skills, and once again I still can't understand why these people don't just kill Kain. He doesn't even have anything to offer this time except for his services as a sword for hire, and the Kiefster knows that this is a bad idea. For entertainment value, they observe naked women drowning behind glass like it's a television, and Zeg stupidly agrees to hire Kain for his army. He's really this dumb and gives the new recruit shelter for the night, but the guard who shows him to his room is somehow even dumber. Kain says he's checking the dungeon to make sure Naja hasn't escaped, but he convinces the guard that she's gone in some 4th grade level ruse. Without even checking for himself, General Gullible runs off to alert the king, giving Kain plenty of time to set the prisoner free. Suddenly tentacles spring from the ground, grabbing Kain around the ankle, so Naja runs off without so much as an attempt to help. Fortunately, the dungeon-dwelling Sarlacc monster only takes a single stab from a sword to be killed, but it delayed Kain's escape. He's forced to pull off his biggest deception yet as Kain manages to convince Zeg that the sorceress was already gone when he arrived. He says that it must have taken 20 men to kill this monster, and Zeg just eats it all up before ordering his men to search for the sorceress. Before they find her, Naja reconnects with her father Bludge and they hide underground while Kain stays at the fort because this king is a cash cow. Not only is Kief the only one who can fight, but he's also smart enough to learn that the guard never actually saw Naja missing. He warns the king that Kain's obviously a traitor, so Zeg prepares a trap instead of just killing him like a normal person. It involves a 5-minute striptease by a woman with 4 breasts, as apparently the only thing that can get close enough to Kain are quad bazonkas. She injects him with a poisonous barb fired from who knows where, but Kain manages to choke her unconscious before comfortably passing out. Suffering a beating from Zed's men, Kain's left alone for only a moment when Kief gets the news that the well has run dry. After appearing to be the smartest person in the village, Kief then doesn't even bother to look up and realize that Kain has climbed into the rafters. He thinks that he escaped and leaves the door unlocked as a bonus for the weakened Kain to crawl himself out. He sneaks onto Zed's wagon to make it out the front gate, then crawls until someone finds him and brings him to Naja in the desert. It turns out that being a slave wasn't the reason for her being topless, and she instead just refuses to cover up even at the blacksmith's. She enchants Kain's sword so that when he wakes up he has something to lead all of these potato sacks to battle with. He slices straight through an anvil, which would be impressive, but the powerful weapon just acts like an ordinary sword from here on out. That night Zeg sends a man into the well to check out the situation, but Ball suspects the army are stealing all of their supply. It leads to a fight between the two sides, but upon noticing the sand people growing in numbers they suggest making an alliance. Zeg pretends like it's a good idea but then just stabs Ball to death and declares himself ruler of the dried up kingdom. He and his men sit there all night defending what little water they have left, but by sunrise the potato peasants have grown thirsty. A large group of them rush the soldiers, but without any weapons they're slaughtered and forced to retreat to try again a little later. They do this multiple times until the soldiers are depleted, and on the last push Burgo returns with a new army seeking revenge. Zeg thinks that he's there as an ally, but Frogface bludgeons him to death with a flail and enslaves everyone including the babes. They also fish out Bludge from the well and intend to sell him alongside the others, but Kain arrives all dramatic like. He cuts down the first wave of expendables, so Burgo prepares the rest of his army, but Naja's brought along her own. Breast swinging, she rallies the commoners to charge the enemy for the final battle and free the prisoners, though probably shouldn't have helped Kief. When Kain's finished killing Toadface and his boys, the captain and a few men manage to wrestle the magical sword away from him. You would think this is a disaster, but the sword that cut through the anvil only 2 minutes ago can now be blocked by any old piece of metal. Kain and Kief have a duel and even trade roly-polies while everyone else is presumably sitting around just watching this. They eventually trade swords and Kain strikes down the only worthy opponent that he had, but Kief dies face first in the sand like a right dunce. Having saved these people from dehydration, Kain packs up his gold sacks, preparing to do it all over again somewhere else. Despite her not even asking, he tells Naja that he travels alone and departs with a gold version of the sword he arrived with. And the movie ends.